The Boy Wonder issue 3, Juni on both writing and
Mm-hmm.
art. So, this is the Tim Drake issue, as we expected, after the last one being Jason, the first one being more Dick focused. And this one is Damien going with Tim to a fundraiser and trying to sort of deduce like how the demon that Damien's investigating is connected to it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of Damien judging Tim and not trusting him, of course. There's a lot of one of my favorite things of this issue is whenever he like doubts something or he
Mm-hmm.
questions something or he sympathizes with something, there's those panels coming in of the demon version of Damien saying weakness.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that as a recurring motif.
Or is that meant to be Roz?
Uh,
Because when we get to the point where he mentions his mom and grandfather,
yes.
that's the same shadow entity, right? So I wonder if that's just the Al Ghul side of him, like, because it is meant to be part of him, right? But I also feel that that's also, it feels like that's Roz calling him weak.
I mean, it might be, but we've seen him with these horns in previous issues, and I think the whole point is he's a mini Raz, and I think the silhouette makes me think more of Damien because they've shown Damien with the silhouette like that a lot throughout these issues. So I was thinking it's more of the sort of the demon version of Damien as opposed to anything else. But either way, though, you get the vibe that it's going for. But yeah, basically a big part of this issue is that when they get to this fundraiser thing, and Damien just wanted to sneak in and like steal information. Tim's like, no, we have to be suave. We have to go in and talk to people. And Lex Luthor's there, Maxwell Lord's there, and we have to schmooze and whatnot. And Damien basically thinks that Tim's like making deals and is not focused on what he's supposed to be doing and whatnot. Yeah, Matt.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's very, very focused that like he wants to see Tim in a bad light, right?
Yes.
Because he's very jealous, and you never got the vibe that Damien was ever jealous of Dick or Jason, but he's very jealous of Tim. So he's watching him make these deals. He's like, "Oh yeah, look at him shaking hands with these bad guys. If my father saw him doing this, oh my goodness."
Yeah, and yeah, and Penguin's mayor in this continuity of this book. So Penguin's the one hosting this party, and he comes down, and he's got like the gross teeth, and he's been all slimy and smiling.
He's definitely Batman Returns. Danny DeVito Penguin.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was the other thing. Why I think there's a Damien demon that's in those green panels where he says weakness is actually just the height of it. Like if you look at the page after he shakes hands with Penguin, there's the panel where it says weakness, right? And then it's Damien afterwards. He's about the same height as Damien, where Tim's kind of towering over. Now I know it's different panels, but to me that's kind of suggesting the height of the demon silhouette, if you will. But yeah, so he's talking about how Tim's doing all this stuff, and Tim doesn't even bring up the fact that he killed this guy. Damien just starts thinking about it. Like there's this guilt kind of in him that because he did this, he made this mistake. He'll always be the runt. He'll always be the one that's not the perfect son kind of thing. But yeah, so Damien goes on his way. Sneaking around, he pulls out and there's a sort of recurring thing in this issue where he pulls out like a gadget, whether it's earbuds or this little hacking computer, and there'll be a little panel sort of explaining what it is and what its purpose is, and
it's almost like it's out of a catalog.
Yes,
you know, like you're reading like what like what each thing does. So he has like the Wayne Enterprises like mini supercomputer, like a laser that he uses at the time, very very gadgety, which I also think is funny. Because I associate that type of stuff with Tim, right? Tim's the one that kind of uses the gadget.
Well, so that's intentional because he tries to use this little computer to hack in, and he gets shut out. And it's not because the security system is strong enough to fight it. It's because someone else has already hacked in, and we find out at the end of the issue that Tim's the one that's already hacked in. So it's a very intentional thing that he's doing very similar things that Tim would do, and Tim's actually beat him to it. But yeah, he gets into his Robin outfit. He goes crawling through the vents. There's a glorious full page spread showing kind of him like squeezing through the vents and like checking out various like rooms and being like, nope, not this one, nope, Some of it's in silhouette, some of it's not, and he's slowly getting tired the more he goes around these vents. And then he eventually gets to the one that he thinks he's found it, and he uses this fancy laser to try and cut through it. But there's a warning that says, oh, it's you shouldn't be using it in enclosed spaces. It's prone to overheating. So of course we get a comedy sequence here where Damien basically sets himself on fire, and the laser thing melts, and he ends up falling through into the secret room where a bunch of the kidnapped people that have been kidnapped by the demon are all in these like coffin things around a pool, which my first thought was that looks like a Lazarus pit. It's not. It's not exactly, right? It's actually a portal. It's like a Lazarus portal. But that basically spoiled the ending for me, because I immediately said, oh, Ra's al Ghul's behind this. And what's the end of this issue? Ra's al Ghul's behind this. This demon that's in Gotham is working for Raz and Talia in some form or another. Obviously, there's a little bit before we get to that, though, where he's trying to figure out what's going on. This demon's there. There's a great full-page spread where it sort of just does like black and white, but not grayscale. It's like a solid white silhouette on a black background, and then a little red silhouette Robin, sort of like a tiny in the frame. And then that's when Tim comes in to help save the day. How do you feel about this Red Robin costume with the bigger beak?
It's weird. I mean, I understand why they're, like, it's making it stand out, because if it was just the plain hood, you know what I mean? It'd make him look like Red Hood. So I feel like it's just to make him visually distinct. Beyond it, to me, it's the cape that makes the wings. It's a little bit weird.
Yeah, I don't hate the cowl. It's kind of, because the Red Robin's outfit, right? Even back when it was Dick and Kingdom Come, which is where the outfit originally came from.
Right.
I always thought that cowl that looks like it should have bat ears, not having bat ears, and is just a flat sort of bald cap always looked a bit plain. So, well, I'm not saying I love this big beak version of it to give it more of a bird-like look. Yeah. I do at least appreciate that it's something. That it's not just the skin-tight dome.
Yeah, it matches the logo for the first time.
Yes.
Right? Because the Red Robin logo has the big beak and stuff. But to me, it doesn't strike me as Red Robin. He looks more like a bird of prey, too. Right? So, it's, I don't know. Just mixed messages all around. Like, it's not terrible, but I appreciate Juni Ba using this to make Tim so distinct from the other Robins as well.
Yeah. I don't hate it. Like, I'm not saying I love it, but I don't hate it. Anywho, so basically Damien has to realize that Tim's been actually doing good stuff all night. He's been smoozing up to the rich people to get information on them, to hack into them, to sort of find out their secrets. Tim's the one that actually planted a bug and destroyed the Batman statue. That's because the main hall when they walked in had statues of all the Justice League, and Damien had a whole thing was like, oh, father would never appreciate being used on display in this place. And then it's like, oh, someone agreed with you because the head's gone. Like someone already destroyed it. But basically, he's been using all this tech stuff all issue, and all of it's not worked for Damien. The computer thing didn't work. The laser thing ended up, I mean, I guess it got him out of the vent, but it almost killed him. So, how you confirm that one way or another. But Tim's like, nah, let's go with a classic, and he pulls out the bow staff and gives Damien one, and they fight side by side. So yeah, it feels like Damien's learned a lesson about assuming anything about Tim, and they fight the bad guy. And there's even a good bit here where Damien obviously is trying to live up, like that's the big question through all these issues, is that can he live up to what Batman wants from him? And we keep returning to that, him telling these stories to this crook at the start of each issue. When he throws the smoke bombs, there's this great thing where it's like his inner monologue becomes these big letters and these big panels to themselves that says, I will be worthy, I will be worthy. Now, it's a little obsessive perhaps, but it does sort of say, it lets us know what he's occupied in his mind.
Yeah.
So, very good stuff. They do a sort of simultaneous kick to this demon that's been kidnapping people. So the demon, realizing he's losing, starts firing these like human coffin containers into the pool in the middle of the room. And they're like, shit, we have to grab as many of these people and like tie them down as best we can. So they start doing that. And this is where Damien sort of realizes that Tim's been doing all this stuff for the right reasons. And Tim even explains, "Oh, Batman taught me the idea of disguises," and we see some Matches Malone panels.
I love it. I love that Juni Ba is using every, you know, like not every element of Batman, but here we get to see his version of Matches as well, and it's all, you know, Tim being essentially in disguise, even if it's as himself,
Yeah.
right? He's playing a character in a way that Damian would not understand, right? Because Damian is just himself at all times. So I love this whole thing, and
Yeah.
that panel down at the bottom that is split with Matches and then Batman.
Yeah.
It's just, that's a great image.
Also, Tim is so young in this flashback panel where Batman's Matches Malone. He looks like he's 10 or something.
Yeah, he looks like he should be in kindergarten.
Yeah.
Like he looks younger than 10.
But that's
But
cool.
yeah.
So yeah. Now here's where you get both Raz and Talia silhouettes saying weakness, which maybe lends credence to what you were saying, that you thought that was Raz the whole time, because this is definitely Raz here. But they're both saying weakness as they're trying to save these coffins. So yeah. But yeah, so ultimately the big demon tries to attack Tim, and Damien pushes him out the way, and he gets knocked into the pool. So we get this cool page where he's sort of in the blobs of green liquid, and he comes out on the other end. And while he's in there, he also envisions the criminal's head that he cut off. He sees that again in there, like he's having like a spiritual moment almost. And he pops out on the other side, and who's there but Ra's al Ghul and Talia, cloaked in darkness, and they say, "Welcome home." So clearly, like, and honestly, it's inevitable it was leading to them, because like all of this has been about Damien and where he came from and choosing a side between his, mother's side and his dad's side. Ultimately, he's going to have to make some choices here about who he's backing. Oh, and obviously, it's a Robin story, so it's going to be the right choice ultimately.
Right.
But no, I thought this was a very fun issue again. I love how easy on the eyes the art is. It's not my favorite art of all time by any means, but it's a very easy to look at book.
Very much, and a lot of the storytelling is also done through the art, so that helps. Like that whole page where Damien's in the vent, as you can just look at his frustration because it's kind of like a maze.
Yep.
Right. So by the time you work your way down, and you don't necessarily have to follow him, but when you see that he's tired, you fully get it. And there's no words really on that page.
You know what's funny is what this made me think of more than anything, story-wise, with them sending people in these like coffin things through a portal to where the League of Assassins are. It was making me think of Phantasm, because that's what happens in Phantasm. Yeah. The tall man sending like the corpses through a portal to like this alien world, and it was making me think of that. And in that movie, they're doing that to turn these dead people into like slaves, so they can sort of reanimate them into these little miniature slaves.
Hey, that's what Phantasm's about.
It gets to that point, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. No, it was a haunted house. Wow.
Oh no, that's not haunted house. You should watch the first 2 or 3 Phantasm movies, Matt. They're worth watching.
Yeah, I'll get to them.
But it was making me it was giving me those vibes, so I immediately thought that these people were going to be turned into like members of the League of Assassins or something that are in the because they're not dead, they're just kind of like they've been put to sleep and they're in these like coffin things. Maybe sarcophagus would be an even better word for them, because they got that shape.
That's what they seem like, right? Because they're kind of like mummies, right? Like what you find the mummies in. Yeah. So yeah, sarcophagus is pretty spot on.
So yeah, fun story. If anything, the only critique I'd really have of it is that I feel like in the previous issues, like Damien's problems with his, quote unquote brothers, where he's like doubting Dick, and then Dick proves himself to him. He's doubting Jason, and like we see how that anger stuff goes. I will say Damien's assumption that Tim's actually doing criminal things when he's making deals with Lex Luthor and talking to them is such a leap. Like, to just assume that he's not like just playing the role that he's meant to be playing is a bit of a leap to me. So that said, though, I did enjoy when he realized at the end, oh no, he's just playing the character so he can get into places. Yeah,
I just think that's what he wanted to believe about Tim, because he's so jealous.
Yeah, I can see it.
So that's where he's just like, oh yeah, look at him. He's making these deals with Lex Luthor and Veronica Cale. It was and Cobblepot. So
the first time he had a narration thing where he's like, "Oh, look at him betraying father." I'm like, "What are you talking about? I didn't get at all that he was betraying anyone. He's just smooching like the way Bruce would if he was here. But,
well, and that's maybe a side that Damien's never seen of Bruce, right?
True, that's a good point.
Because this is still early. This is still early in him being Robin. So
he's never seen billionaire Bruce going.
No.
Go be billionaire Bruce, I guess. Yeah.
Right. So it's just again from all misunderstanding. I also like the new place. What was it called? The Nest, or whatever, that the tallest building in Gotham. That's where it's all going.
Oh
on.
yeah, Penguins.
I like that as well.
Yeah, Penguins built this skyscraper called the Nest, which makes sense because he's and penguins have nests, right?
Yeah, penguins do make nests, but just like keeps up with this whole bird theme.
Yeah.
And just of course Cobblepot would have to have the tallest building in Gotham. So I like all of that.
In some ways, he's kind of like Gotham's closest equivalent to Lex. Obviously, he's still very different in a lot of ways, but in the sense of the ego and the power and all that, he's that.
Whereas I feel like Lex doesn't want to get his hands dirty, right? Because he wants to always have plausible deniability.
He's not a crime boss, but that idea of wanting to have the tallest building in the city is definitely him.
Yeah. Well, it's again Cobblepot. He made his way to mayor, right?
Yes.
Lex made it to president. That's what I always will say. That's the difference between the two.
Yeah. So, no, for this has been an enjoyable Black Label book. I'm having a good time. What are you rating him at?
I'm gonna listen to 8.5.
Yeah, I was just thinking straight 8, so I'll stick with that. But I don't really have much of a reason to rate it lower than you. Just what it feels like.